Hello and welcome to Stillness and Success. I'm your host, Mustafa Nuristani. And today I've got a very special guest, a senior psychologist who has recently co-authored a book about super relationships. Now, I thought it was really timely that we have this conversation with this very interesting individual because it's also World Friendship Day come July, end of July, and this book is coming out at this time. And I think, we all need to be more friendly and we all need to be more unified and, put away the differences and just enjoy those differences as well. So, you could say, I don't agree with this, but I want to also enjoy what your point of view is. And that's what makes life rich. And so today, I'm really grateful to be welcoming to the program Dr. Vicki Broome.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here.
Yes, it's so wonderful to be talking with you because, you are from a place that I deeply love. South Africa is a place that I've always admired. It's where I learned Transcendental Meditation in Cape Town.
Correct.
And so, whenever you do something like learn Transcendental Meditation, you remember where you were. When did you learn Transcendental Meditation?
Well, I also learned in Cape Town.
Oh, nice.
Because I was at the drama school. I was at university in Cape Town, and I was doing a BA in drama, but I was also doing a performance. I was going to be a professional actress, which I was for a couple of years. And I was in a play, and all the cast were meditating. This was, some years after the Beatles had started TM.
Uh-huh.
And so all the young people were doing TM. And so, I went to an introductory talk. There were about, hundreds of people there. I had to wait for weeks to get an appointment, but that's where I learned.
Excellent. And, everybody remembers their first experience of transcending. Do you remember yours?
I really remember it. It was so blissful that I was off the universe, off the planet. It's really blissful.
It is a bit of a off the planet experience because, in Transcendental Meditation, we are experiencing the source of all creativity, the source from which everything emerges. So we are basically going beyond.
Well, that's what trance means. Transcendental means beyond, actually. So we're going down from conscious to subconscious to unconscious to transcendental consciousness, but it is the source of bliss within ourselves. So the first time you contact that, with psychology and with consciousness-based psychology, the main contribution that consciousness-based psychology has made to the whole field of psychology is access to this, what we call para level, which is this transcendental level. Because the mind is structured hierarchically, and Western psychology also recognizes that, but they don't have access to this unbounded ocean of pure bliss consciousness. And it's a critical contribution that Vedic psychology or consciousness-based psychology has made, actually.
Beautiful. And so coming to psychology, because this is your field and you've just co-authored a book, what brought you to this understanding that maybe I should write a book about super relationships?
Well, it's interesting because a lot of books about relationships do exist in the market. But we're not just talking about relationships, we're talking about consciousness-based relationships. And my experience over decades of working with people is that if they are consciousness-based, it is so easy to work with people. They're more in touch with their emotional issues. They work through them more quickly. And I have a lot of other psychologists who refer their people to me to teach them TM. They go back to their normal therapy. But if they're stuck, they say this person must be meditating, transcending. And then they find that the therapy progresses again.
Yes.
So we wrote a book because the book is based on a course called actually Super Relationships. And the course participants wanted a book, but the book is much, much wider. And it's really to bring in that element of consciousness-based relationships and not just ordinary relationships. I mean, the book isn't only covering romantic relationships, it's covering all relationships, friendships, corporate, work, sibling, family. Yeah.
Beautiful. Now, you said something very interesting, which could be a little bit abstract to people. What is consciousness-based relationship? What does that mean?
Yeah. Consciousness-based psychology comes from Ayurvedic medicine, which is the oldest system of medicine. And Ayurveda is a mind-body medicine. So what it recognizes is you can't really heal the body if someone is sick unless you also heal the heart. Because the emotions and the psychology play a very important part in our physical health. And so what happens is we work with the whole person. A lot of our emotional pain is somatized. It's stored in the body.
Yes.
And the emotional and psychological aspects of Ayurveda are the least understood, but they're actually the most important. So with consciousness-based psychology, the goal of that is recovery. And recovery from what? And it's recovery from a fractured sense of self. That's actually our journey, is that when people are suffering, they have forgotten who they are, truly who they are. And the journey is recovering that and remembering of who you are. If I can make an analogy here, or do you want to ask me another?
No, I love that. Please go ahead. I want to hear about the analogy because you've said it now. I'm going to be all curious and I can't ask you anything else.
Well, if you use an analogy of the ocean, and if you look at the ocean and it expresses as waves, and it expresses as waves while it remains its oceanhood.
Yes.
The wave is not disconnected from the ocean.
Absolutely.
And we as individuals are all like waves. But if we forget that we are also the ocean, we suffer. So if we are suffering, it's because we have forgotten our oceanhood.
Yes, it's beautiful. And this is beautiful because I have so many people who come to me and they say, I want to be my authentic self.
Yeah.
And this authentic self, this word authentic, it's kind of really abstract. What does that mean, authentic self? But it's just that. It's that experience of the ocean where the wave merges back, just collapses back into the ocean and says, I am infinite, I am unbounded. And then it rises. Yes.
Because we're all going to still be individuals and different to each other.
Exactly.
But we're that as well.
Exactly. That's what I was just about to say, and it's so beautiful. Now, you said something about, in psychology, I was speaking with you the other day, and you talked about 2 types of listening. There are 2 types of listening that really create a lot of harmony with people, in relationships. And so one you said was deep listening, and the other one was active listening. Now, I think everyone's thinking, what is deep listening?
All right. Well, we always want to get our own viewpoint across. And people rarely listen. They listen in order to quickly say something. And did they really hear? But until people are really heard, you can't really progress the relationship until somebody really feels heard and understood. We've got a thing called the problem-solving band. If there's a problem between 2 people and both people are emotional, they are not going to make any progress with that problem until the emotions come down and until they go into the problem-solving band. Now, in order to get the other person and yourself, but to get the other person into the problem-solving band, they have to feel that you understood not only what they were saying, but also what they were feeling. That's more important. Deep listening it's actually a Buddhist-based technique where you can do someone an enormous service if you just take the time to listen and you don't interrupt. And even if you disagree, and even if they're accusing you of things that are not justified, if you just listen, but genuinely listen with interest to what that person is saying, they can do a lot of healing in an hour. That's deep listening.
And this beautiful, I just want to make a point here because, when you say really listen needs to happen, and it can only happen if someone is present.
Correct.
And if you're not present, which people aren't, people are feeding their child, but really, and the child is looking at the camera while they're eating, because the child is not present eating either. And the mom is thinking about, okay, I have to do this, and I have to talk to my husband about that, and I have to go do this project. So no one is present these days.
It's right.
And that's where the relationships are deteriorating.
It's a big factor. One of the qualities of healthy relationships is being present. People that are present are more attractive. You can see animals and little children are very innocent. and they are attracted
Mm.
to people who are present, because people are, they're worrying about the future or they're mulling over the past, and they're not coming into the moment, and there are very few problems in the present moment, actually.
Yes. And this is something that, I've seen with my students who, when they practice TM, within the next day, they say, I feel so much calmer and the chatter is gone. And I was having lunch with my partner, and my partner noticed that, what's going on? What you're listening to me.
People talk about mindfulness as a practice. Mindfulness is a result
Yes.
of a good practice, like
Exactly.
transcending.
Exactly.
Because you're
Yeah.
so comfortable with who you are that you can comfortably be in the present moment.
Absolutely. And that's what I always say, that, we are not going to tell you, pay attention to when you're having a cup of tea. Be grateful that you're going to have this chips.
That's hard work
Be,
as well.
and that's a lot of, like, you've got a lot going on, and you're like, okay, I have to really be mindful that I am present right now.
Exactly.
That is mood making,
Yeah.
which is a bit of a strain, because you should just do whatever you want to do instead of forcing yourself to think something else. Now, going back to, I haven't forgotten, active listening.
Okay. So sometimes, we do have to get our own viewpoint across. So once we have managed to get the person into the problem solving band, and we do that by active listening, would be not just listening, but a very useful technique is, I give back to you what you told me, but more important, what you are feeling. So if you say that I am sad, and I sometimes could also use a disclaimer in case I'm wrong. So what I could say is, look, if I'm hearing you right, you're feeling unhappy right now. So it's what you feel and what you said, and I'm giving it back to you in your own words, in my words. And so they'll start to feel, okay, look, this person is really attempting to understand me. And then when you feel the person is in the problem solving band, is your opportunity to get your own viewpoint across. That's active listening. So once you've used the active listening, you can respond. And you may have to say, well, look, from my viewpoint, this is how I see it. And they'll hear you. They won't even hear you if you're trying to talk to them while they're very emotional.
Yes, exactly. And then you say things that you regret later, and then
there's so much undoing and regretting. I wish I hadn't said that. I wish I hadn't done that. And that's another wonderful thing about TM, is that I find it makes people spontaneously do the right action. So there's a lot of time saved. There's not so much, oh, I've got to fix that mess I made. I regret that mess. Why didn't I do this? Why did I do this? And it's another wonderful advantage with transcending.
Yes, absolutely. Because, do less and accomplish more, I always say to my students.
Correct.
Yes. Now, how is the book? What is it all about? You said that it's about relationships. Yes.
It's got 3 sections. The first one is really about the self, because relationships begin with a relationship with yourself. You can only be to others as you are to yourself. And it will always be the only permanent relationship you have. Wherever you go, there you will be. Whatever relationship you enter into, there you are.
Yes.
And so you have to get into a good relationship with yourself. We're always wanting deep relationships, but we don't even see the deep level in other people if we don't see the depth in ourselves. So a lot of the book is about returning to your oceanhood, getting into a good relationship with yourself, and understanding your own relationship patterns. How am I reacting? What am I doing? And so on. So that's the first third of the book, is getting into a good relationship with yourself so that you can have good relationships.
And would you recommend that people learn Transcendental Meditation to get in that relationship with themselves?
I would always recommend people learn Transcendental Meditation under any circumstances, but it's actually a tremendously helpful thing, because that's what TM does. You said people want to be their authentic self. TM returns you to your higher self, to the highest version of yourself, the best version of yourself, without a lot of work. Yeah. So, of course, we would recommend. That's the first third of the book. The second third is about consciousness, because it's a consciousness-based relationship book. And that is using techniques like meditation and mindfulness and other techniques which help you to access more subtle levels of yourself, and to also to get rid of your reactivity and your negative patterns and things. But a very important part of the book is the toolkit. You know, people can have a lot of intellectual knowledge. They can read a lot of books, but they can't apply them, or even a lot of like advanced spiritual knowledge. But they may know the principle, but they may not actually be able to do it. Like, I know I should listen, but I want to get my point of view.
Yes.
And so we give wonderfully useful tools which help you to form wonderful relationships as a family, like with safe space time and, and all kinds of things. So that's the book.
So you said something very interesting there. You said that you have these tools that help people build better relationships. Are they simple, easy tools, or are they going to have to be,
No.
they're going to get a PhD to use the tools?
This book is for everybody. We really feel it's for everybody. And there's a section, the toolkit is a separate section. So if people don't want to go through everything, they can immediately go to the toolkit. One of the things that we do in the book, which I think is extremely interesting, is we survey the whole range of Western psychology and show how it compares or is enhanced by consciousness-based psychology. Because a lot of people are already in therapy or using other kinds of tools. And it shows that but that's a deeper section of the book. So we've put the toolkit separate so that people can go straight there if they want. And I always recommend that people do the course because there's a very nice quote by Rumi which says it takes a day to do a 200-mile journey with a teacher or something along that line, that a teacher makes a 2,000-mile journey in a couple of steps. So it's always useful to do the course where you have a facilitator and you practice with self-reflection exercises and breakouts and that. So it's great for people who can. And then the book is there forever to support all that afterwards. But
now, what does the course mean? You said it's a course.
It's a relationships course, which is it's a 10-lesson transformation program, actually, that people can do. And it's the same kind of material, but very active. It's not knowledge, it's a transformation program.
So it's like, you said breakout classes and
reflections, breakouts, home assignments, based on the theory that's in the book. The book was actually taken from the course. So we did the course and then we turned it into a book, and then of course we expanded it a lot in the book as well.
Now, was this intentional, that World Friendship Day is coming and let's release a book about relationships and create more harmonious relationships?
Synchronicity is always perfect. But what's very interesting is we launched it on Thursday, which was a very auspicious time to launch. And by yesterday, the book was #1 on Amazon in the friendship category of new releases.
Beautiful.
So it's all to do with friendship and relationships.
Beautiful. Well, thank you for making the time and coming and sitting with us to talk about this.
To talk to you. Thank you.
Yes, thank you, Dr. Vicki Broome. And thank you for listening. It's so wonderful to also have your company. Wishing you wonderful relationships with all your friends and families. Take care.